Good morning, capitalists. Here is everything you should know today. Budweiser to invest $600 million into U.S. manufacturing growth. Radioactive mistake. 53% Germans regret nuclear plant shutdown. U.S. steel restarts. Gary, Indiana tin mill, adding 225 jobs. Stocks climb after Trump extends U.S.-Iran ceasefire. Robinhood Fund takes $75 million stake in OpenAI. Palantir secures $300 million USDA deal for food supply. Gates Foundation reviews Epstein ties, cuts 20% staff. Today's Markets Plus Assets, sponsored by Trader's Edge. The Dow is at 49,123.25, up 0.62%. The S&P is at 7,126.08, up 0.87%. The Nasdaq is at 24,595.92, up 1.39%. The CBOE-VIX Volatility Index at 19.29, down 1.08%. Gold is at 4,753.30, up 0.71%. Silver is at 77.92, up 1.86%. Bitcoin is at 78,876, up 4.79%. You know, when American companies commit hundreds of millions to domestic manufacturing and job creation, it catches the eye, especially when the White House calls it the Trump effect. At the same time, a majority of Germans are looking back on their nuclear plant shutdown with regret. This week, we're seeing signs of U.S. manufacturing strength, energy policy reflections abroad, market reactions to geopolitics, and big moves in AI and tech investment. Let's dive in. Act 1. News Summary. First up, Anheuser-Busch is investing $600 million over 2 years to expand U.S. brewery capacity, open 15 new training centers, and boost veteran hiring. CEO Brendan Whitworth cites strong long-term domestic growth opportunities. In Europe, 53% of Germans believe the decision to close all nuclear reactors during the energy crisis was a mistake. United States Steel announced plans to restart the Gary tin mill in Indiana, adding 225 jobs. U.S. stocks climbed, with the S&P 500 up 0.82%, Nasdaq jumping 1.21%, and Dow gaining 0.73%. After President Trump extended the ceasefire with Iran amid ongoing earnings reports. Robinhood's venture fund took a $75 million stake in privately held OpenAI. Palantir secured a $300 million contract with the U.S. Department of Agriculture for food supply management. And the Gates Foundation launched an external review of its past ties to Jeffrey Epstein and plans to eliminate up to 500 jobs, or 20% of staff, by 2030 while capping expenses. Let's start with that Budweiser news, or more precisely, Anheuser-Busch. The beer giant is doubling down on U.S. operations with the $600 million investment from 2025 through 2026, focusing on brewery upgrades, technology, and production capacity, building on a prior $300 million commitment. The workforce development focus is clear. The company plans to upskill 90% of its manufacturing workforce over 5 years through new technical training centers in digital systems, mechanical and electrical skills, and management systems. By strengthening manufacturing operations, the company is creating sustainable careers, not just jobs, and investing in the people who are vital to its success while expanding veteran partnerships. White House spokesperson Liz Houston called the move yet another example of the Trump effect, with companies investing in the United States, expanding manufacturing, and creating good-paying jobs. Shifting to the energy front, and a cautionary tale from Germany. A majority of Germans believe the decision to close all nuclear reactors during the energy crisis was a mistake, with 53% saying so and 32% calling it completely wrong, according to a new survey. The former Angela Merkel government and later Olaf Scholz government shut down the entire nuclear fleet officially for safety concerns, with final reactors taken out of service in April 2023. Public opinion is split. Only 40% supported the nuclear phase-out, while just 39% now say nuclear should make a comeback, preferring solar, wind, and hydropower instead. Safety concerns appear minimal. Just 15% are very worried about a nuclear accident, and 53% said even the Chernobyl disaster had not worsened their feeling about nuclear power. Leaders like EU boss Ursula von der Leyen and the International Energy Agency director both called Germany's nuclear shutdown a strategic mistake for turning away from reliable, low-emissions power. Back home, United States Steel announced plans to restart the Gary Tin Mill in Indiana, increasing domestic tin production and adding 225 jobs, with full operations expected in early 2027. The restart will increase domestic tin mill production and provide customers with American-made supply, mined, melted, and made in America, where market conditions allow fair competition. The Gary Works facility restart brings industry back to Northwest Indiana's Rust Belt area as part of broader efforts to rebuild American manufacturing strength. Local leaders praise it. Gary Mayor Eddie Melton called the move a great step forward for our city, our local workforce, and the broader American manufacturing industry. Indiana State Representative Carolyn B. Jackson said the good-paying jobs mean 225 more families in Northwest Indiana, with the stability and security they need. On the markets, U.S. stocks rose Wednesday after President Trump extended the ceasefire with Iran. The ceasefire extension provided temporary relief to markets under pressure from skepticism about a lasting peace agreement with Iran, as efforts for fresh talks fell apart. Boeing released first-quarter results topping expectations with higher deliveries driving its turnaround, and shares rising nearly 4% before the bell. Oil saw a surge as Iranian gunboats fired on ships in the Strait of Hormuz, while Brent crude broke above $100 a barrel as markets assessed the maritime standoff. Large-cap tech and industrials led gains, with chip stocks notching fresh highs as investors awaited Tesla results after the close. In the venture and AI space, Robinhood's venture fund has invested $75 million in privately held OpenAI, giving retail traders exposure to the AI giant as one of the fund's largest investments to date. The Robinhood Ventures Fund 1 provides everyday investors access to transformative private companies like OpenAI, Anthropic, and xAI through its public NYSE-traded vehicle. President Sarah Pinto said OpenAI is one of the frontier artificial intelligence companies, and the stake underscores the mission to deliver access to future-shaping firms. This move follows last summer's public disagreement when OpenAI pushed back on Robinhood's plans to offer tokenized equity in the company. The fund holdings also include stakes in Databricks, Revolut, and Aura, after going public and beginning trading on the New York Stock Exchange in March. Meanwhile, Palantir announced a $300 million contract with the U.S. Department of Agriculture to use its technology managing farmland and safeguarding food supply amid geopolitical risks and trade tensions. The agreement builds on ongoing USDA projects and addresses rising supply costs squeezing U.S. farmers from the ongoing trade war with China and Iran war effects. Recent research highlighted concerns over China purchasing U.S. farmland, prompting calls to reform reporting under the Agricultural Foreign Investment Disclosure Act. Founded in 2003 to scale U.S. defense capabilities, Palantir's AI tools now extend to civilian agencies beyond military modernization contracts. CEO Alex Karp noted precise targeting shifts how war is fought, while the company faces criticism for past work with immigration and homeland security agencies. Finally, the Gates Foundation launched an external review of its past ties to Jeffrey Epstein and plans to eliminate up to 500 jobs or 20% of staff by 2030 while capping expenses. The philanthropy co-founded by Bill Gates and Melinda Gates is conducting an external review of relations with the late sex offender, as reported by the Wall Street Journal. Bill Gates is scheduled to testify about Epstein to the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee on June 10th, after previously apologizing to staff for the association. Gates Foundation CEO, Mark Sussman, told staff this is a challenging time, but highlights the critical importance of taking tough actions now on operations and costs. With the 2026 budget, around $9 billion and operating expenses capped at $1.25 billion. So what does all this mean? We're seeing companies like Anheuser-Busch and United States Steel investing in U.S. manufacturing, creating sustainable careers, not just jobs, and delivering good-paying jobs that bring stability and security to families. The Trump effect is being noted in these expansions. The German experience serves as a reminder of the strategic costs of turning away from reliable low-emissions power sources. Markets are finding relief in ceasefire extensions, while earnings, like Boeing's, drive gains. Retail investors are gaining access to frontier AI companies through vehicles like Robinhood's fund, and technology from Palantir is being applied to critical areas like food supply and farmland management. The Gates Foundation moves reflect tough operational decisions in philanthropy. That's the roundup for today. You now know more than most people do about what is going on in the world of finance today. Thank you for listening to The Capitalist and supporting us. Together we will make capitalism great again.